letter that I wrote in December of 2005 when volunteers helped with the first cleanup in the Avenue B and C Colonia history. We also worked on the sewer project, and that was a great success.
Excuse me.
The road has been hard, but lessons well learned. Like a small tree that endures the strong winds. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped a page. Okay. It is my desire to bring forth change for what is good and right and just. The need to open people's eyes to apathy, ignorance, and the need for self-reliance, accountability one to another. I desire to be a speaker, a motivator, a teacher. Ever since I can remember, God has had a call on my life. Even as a small child, I could see the injustices, whether it was bullies, abused animals, discernment of things that are right and wrong, and how the wrong affected and hurt the most innocent of people. God has given me a deep compassion and love for others. The road has been hard, but the lessons well learned. Like a small tree that endures the strong winds, my roots go deep and my convictions are strong. All I know and need to know is that from the Holy Spirit, I am empty and vain without Jesus in my life. I desire to have his love and the love of the Father reflect from me, even tough love. I want my life to count for the sake of others, to know that I was sent to this earth with a destiny to help others. Psalms 37:4, delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. My desire is to revitalize the Avenue B and C Colonia. God bless you, and God bless America.
Thank you, Gail. Uh, and I'm sure that you've been updated by Ian and Lynn on what the progress we've done there. Thank you. Good. William Katz.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
William Katz, Western Sands Land, Inc., in-house counsel. Would it be possible for me to push my call to the public to the end of the calendar?
Sure.
Okay. I did have one question. You indicated this is not being televised. Is it being recorded, however?
It is.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else from the public that wishes to address the council? Seeing none, we'll move on to presentations, proclamations, and appointments. During this segment of the agenda, board members may discuss the presentations and proclamations and may announce appointments to the Yuma County Planning and Zoning Commission and the Yuma County Board of Adjustments. No legal action will be taken. We'll move on to, any appointments?
No.
All right. Item number 1. Recognition of Gilberto Villegas Jr. upon his retirement from Yuma County effective September 6, 2024.
Morning, Chairman, members of the board. This is a bittersweet moment, sweet for Gil and bitter for us. But before I get to that, I just wanted to note that they are routing one camera live over to 77, so at least that'll be on the air. So Gil Villegas has been with us for a number of years as in many roles, most recently as Chief Financial Officer, and he has served our county with distinction and integrity. His conservative fiscal outlook has enabled our county to have a strong reserve and has placed us in a very strong fiscal position. It's going to be a very tough act to follow to replace Gil. I think you can see the support he has, not only from me, but by the multitudes of his staff that has shown up this morning. I'm going to give Gil a plaque here in a minute, but why don't you come on up, Gil, and say a couple of words.
Just a couple.
Oh, hey, Tony.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Administrator Ian, thank you very much. It's been quite a journey for me. I really appreciate your kind words. Yeah, I started a long time ago in 1998, my whole journey, and I've been blessed and I've been very lucky that through all this time, I'd be surrounded by very, very good and professional people. I can honestly say that all the directors, all the people that you have working for the county, they really, truly have the county's best interest at heart. So every once in a while, please continue doing the wonderful job that you're doing, listening to your people, because they do want to do good for the county. I continue to be grateful for the opportunity. Special thanks to Supervisor Reyes. He was the chairman when I was appointed to the CFO, so it's all his fault. Thank you very much.
How long it was. How long it was.
Like I said, I'm grateful. Thank you for staff being here, being supported. They're truly, really professionals. Thank you, Ian. Appreciate
It
it.
speaks volumes, and he's been my counsel. We've been through a lot together in the time that we've worked together, and I have the utmost respect for you. Like I said, your integrity, your commitment to conservative fiscal outlook, and you know what? I think I can thank you, and your staff can thank you, but who should thank you most is the Yuma County taxpayers. You've done very, very well by them. I'm going to read his plaque. Gilberto Villegas Jr., in recognition and appreciation of your dedicated service. I'm going to start from the bottom. It has his different positions. So I'm going to start where he started. Accountant 1 and 2 from 1998 to 2003. Finance Services Operations Manager 2003-2005. Assistant Finance Director from 2005 to 2007. Then I think you went to Buckeye for a couple of years. We'll forgive you for that. 3 years. 3 years. Deputy Chief Financial Officer when he returned in 2009 through 2017. And then finally, Chief Financial Officer 2017 until the end of the day, Friday. So with that, sir, very, very well done. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Make everybody happy back there and just say, no. Not going.
I have history to tell, so you better come back.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You want to get a picture?
Oh, yeah.
Or it didn't happen.
Not only that, you could deny it.
I'll do the name and then I'll do the rest of the staff, please, if you would like.
Okay.
I know.
Get everybody to scoot this way, Supervisor Reyes?
Oh.
Everybody scoot this way. Did you want one of the stuff?
Yes. Come on up here, staff. All of the staff.
And supervisors,
Yeah, let's
Let's get out of the way.
you guys can stand back there.
Yeah, we'll stand back here. Because he's got a lot of staff.
I'm used to being bussed around by women, so it doesn't feel like any different. You sit back there.
That's how my little brother got a job once.
Well, if you know what I mean.
I have a problem with women being a boss. I have 3 older sisters. I've been bossed from women my whole life.
All right. Actually, everybody fits really well.
That's
1,
what they all
2,
say.
3.
You don't even have to. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for everything.
Bye, ladies.
Hi.
Take care.
Move on to item number 2. Proclaiming the month of September 2024 to be Yuma County Preparedness Month. And we have
Okay, proclaiming September 2024 as Yuma County Preparedness Month. Whereas Yuma County Preparedness Month creates an important opportunity for every resident of Yuma County to prepare for and protect their homes and communities from any type of emergency, including natural disasters, public health emergencies, man-made disasters, and potential terrorist attacks. And whereas September is National Preparedness Month, and we encourage all Yuma County residences and businesses to take important preparedness steps to prepare for emergencies for themselves, their families, and their community. And whereas emergency preparedness is the responsibility of every resident of Yuma County, all residents are urged to make preparedness a priority and work together to ensure individuals, families, and communities are prepared for disaster and emergencies of any type. And whereas all residents of Yuma County are encouraged to participate in citizen preparedness activities and asked to review the Ready campaign's website at ready.gov or listo.gov in Spanish to become better prepared. Therefore, the Yuma County Board of Supervisors proclaims September 2024 to be Yuma County Preparedness Month in Yuma County and encourage all residences and businesses to develop an emergency plan and work together, creating a more prepared society.
Lynn's there.
All right.
Hi, Lynn.
The other Lynn.
I know.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Board of Supervisors, we take this opportunity to encourage our community to be prepared. Obviously, Emergency Preparedness Month is every month for us, but this month is the one we recognize. Obviously, we coordinate, both public health and us coordinate with our first responders, our public works, our fire agencies, our law enforcement agencies, and then the community. We can't do this alone. Today with us is our volunteers, our Yuma Auxiliary Communication Group, which is our ham radio operators who can put communication out there anytime that's needed. And then we also have our Community Emergency Response Team here as well. Community preparedness is everyone, as you stated, is everyone's business. It obviously reduces that need during an emergency for first responders to come out. If people are better prepared, they make some type of mitigation, they plan for it, they prepare for it. And then when we're not able to respond, when the calls of service the demand becomes such high for first responders that people need to take care of themselves. So with that, I'm gonna let Lynn from Public Health talk about I deal with the man-made, natural, and human-caused disaster. She deals with all the other stuff that we've been dealing with the last couple of years. So I'll let Lynn talk.
So we've recovered from COVID for the most part, although we still have it around, and I think it will be around forever. But I think that the community really stood up and showed what Yuma is all about in regards to COVID and that response. And we will continue to do that. We are actually developing Medical Reserve Corps again, which is the public health side of the CERT program. And we have been working with CERT, just getting out heat kits for all of our community. We actually distributed yesterday 340 heat kits to the Salvation Army, the Food Bank, Crossroads Mission, Hope Inc., and other organizations that are part of our cooling site. So that's just one example of the work that we are doing to keep our public healthy.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you both.
Get a picture with Tony and
Okay.
Pictures with the
All of it.
proclamation.
Get everybody up.
Volunteers, or we wanna stay up here or?
No. Oh, is it-
Whatever
it's
you
a
want.
large
I don't
group?
know, you got a big group.
All our volunteers.
No, we'll go down there first.
Let's go down there. I'm already down
I'm
there.
gonna put my mask on so that everybody realizes.
Please. Always forget
Some of you guys can help me
Yeah.
understand. You don't all have to stand on the board.
Hi, guys.
Many people working on it. I put this mask on just to.
Yep, this is about you guys and all the work you do. I'm right in here.
I can get you to come
Come over here, Lee.
Oh, okay.
right here next to you. Right there, right there. Thank you. All right, 1, 2, 3. Perfect, thank you.
This is the only time I've ever seen anyone take one picture.
Yeah. Thank you,
Normally, the
guys.
phone, you take 5 and 6 just to make sure.
I'm good, Supervisor.
I know you're good. That's good. What if your phone, do you use your phone?
Oh, good.
Share.
That's okay, that's good.
No.
We need that. We need that.
Guys.
That's right here, we have a lot of
And here I thought we were just popular, man. Clearing up the room pretty fast. I thought we were just popular.
Moving on to item number 3. Proclaiming the month of September 2024 to be Library Card Sign-Up Month in Yuma County. We have Supervisor Pancrazy.
Yes. Good morning. Proclaiming September 2024 as Library Card Sign-Up Month. Whereas libraries provide welcoming and inclusive spaces where individuals from all backgrounds can learn and connect, bridging cultural, ethnic, generational, and economic divides, and strengthening the social fabric of their communities. And whereas libraries assist people of all ages in navigating life's complexities, offering access to research, information, and government services that enhance productivity and fulfillment. And whereas libraries boost the local economy by providing critical access to technology and training for job seekers, entrepreneurs, and students. And whereas during times of crisis, libraries and their staff play a vital role in supporting communities both in person, virtually, whereas the shared resources provided by libraries help households save money, conserve resources, and reduce waste, offering a simple way to make a positive impact. Now, therefore, the Yuma County Board of Supervisors proclaim the month of September 2024 as Library Card Sign-Up Month in Yuma County, and encourage everyone to sign up for a library card today. I have one and I renewed it already, so.
Oh, you gotta renew it?
Yes,
They used to bring us a big one, like a huge one that you could put in your wallet.
I know.
Ashley? Morning.
Good morning.
Chairman, members of the board. I just want to take a moment to thank you for making time to make this proclamation today. ALA partnered this year with Transformers, and it really is a great partnership because libraries themselves are transforming. Libraries have the opportunity to take you on 1,000 adventures without ever leaving your hometown. However, libraries are changing, and ours is changing right along with it, and we have new technologies coming. We already have a media studio room. We're working on some gaming computers to work in conjunction with AWC's gaming programming. We also are in the process of kicking off a seed library to help people learn food sustainability. So there are a lot of things that are coming down the pipeline to really help our community thrive and grow, especially in the economic times that we're in. And I want to thank you again for your continued support, the continued support of our county administrator. We're very happy to serve our community in all aspects that we can.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I say something? During the campaign season, one gets to find out a lot of programs in the library. I did, and I can tell you right now, I was not totally convinced that you're part of the education system, but when I saw that you have adult education, that you have all those programs that are available to people, I realized just how critical those libraries are for the communities they are at. Unfortunately, most people think that the library district is actually a district of Somerton and San Luis and Welton and Foothills. They don't understand it's a county system. So it was very difficult to tell them or to prove to them that the libraries are a county system that operates on behalf of all these communities to make sure that they have all those bases covered. So I was really appreciative of the library's work, especially in San Luis and South County and in Somerton. So thank you very much for all the work you do, and just keep doing it and keep changing with the times. You're doing a great job.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
One more comment too. I use the library for meetings and for when I need to sit down and get a whole lot of work done without disruption. And I haven't gone into Heritage Library or Main Library ever that there haven't been a large number of people there. I've seen so many seniors coming out of the library with books that they read, and of course your volunteers. I've been going to the volunteer luncheon get together for as long as I've been on the board, and you have a great support of volunteers who help at the library. One of them being Audrey, who was one of my former students years ago. But there's a large number of volunteers that help with the library, and thank them for also.
Yes.
Friends of the Library is a wonderful program, so.
Yes, we're very fortunate for the community assistance that we have and the support that we get from the members of the community.
Just one last thing. I don't know of anyone that is in a position of power that isn't either a pupil of yours, or you know them through the educational system. Everybody that I know knows Lynn Pancras from my days as a school teacher.
Well, the good, she saw you coming out of the library the other day.
Yeah, I told you. Okay.
I'll take.
Here you go.
Do you know anyone that, is anyone missing from your?
Go ahead, Lynn.
No, I just taught for so many years. I earned every single one of those right there. I know. It would be. Oh, Tony, Martine.
That's okay, it's okay.
No, Martine. Okay.
If there was a tree, she'd be hugging it.
Moving on to item number 4, and with us, we have Executive Director Craig Sullivan, and he'll be from the County Supervisors Association presenting what we have for activities for fiscal year 2023-2024.
Good morning, Craig.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Thank you very much for this opportunity to stand before you. For the record, my name is Craig Sullivan. I'm with the County Supervisors Association, and my purpose here today is to report out to you on the activities of our board, and just as importantly, to get any feedback from you on how we can serve you in Yuma County. So I did provide to you a document that's got a fair number of slides that walks you through key elements of the activities and services we provide. So it talks about how we use our organization as a forum to connect local officials with policymakers. We talk about our strategic initiatives and our data initiative and our work with the legislature as well. I'm not going to drill into all of it. I want to hit some of the highlights just so you can see how we're spending our time and how we're serving you. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have as we go through it. I'd love to explore anything that's of particular interest to you. And I do want to begin just by thanking this board for your involvement in our association. As you know, we pulled together all the county's 61 supervisors. I'm exceedingly grateful for the leadership you all provide and your involvement. Ms. Pancrazzi, you in particular, serving on our executive committee and our legislative policy committee. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And Supervisor Porteous has stepped up to chair our Medium County Caucus. So thank you. Thank you very much. And I also want to thank your team. Ian, Alejandro, the whole team here. We really value the partnership we have as staff with your staff to support you and the work you do in the county. So thank you, Ian. We really do appreciate it. All right, so just to begin, let me talk a little bit about who we are, since not everybody's clear on what the organization is. But the County Supervisors Association is a collaboration of the 15 counties. We do nonpartisan policy and research work to support decision-making at the state, local, and federal level. The counties pulled all this together because it's more efficient to do it as a collaboration among the counties, right? And everybody benefits from it. And we're in the same business you are. We are trying to support you in your work for the constituents in your community. And when you look on the right, the fact that all those other entities, the state legislature, Congress, state agencies, the court system have an effect on what you do, it really underscores the importance of having an intergovernmental connection with all these entities. And that's what we hope to support on your behalf. So I'll bounce into some of the activities over the last year. What I put here are a lot of items, but I wanted to just share with you how we're using our forum to bring in political and professional staff at the state level to talk with all of you on issues that are relevant. And these are some of the folks that we had come through in the last year. And we begin our board meetings in September this year, so we'll be programming going forward into the next summer here shortly. Also, on the left, I listed for you some of the key intergovernmental task force and committees that we've been involved in to support all of the counties. I was assigned to the Governor's Water Council. We have appointments to the Commerce Authority and the Criminal Justice Commission. I serve on the PSPRS Advisory Committee, and so you can just get a sense of how we are deploying on your behalf in these key areas. And this is just a small list of them. And I wanted to highlight in particular what we call affiliate groups. This is our work with the managers and the planners and the finance directors and all of the folks that support you. They work together as well, coming together as an association, and they connect with us. And so our staff briefs them. They provide professional expertise to us. It really creates a strong kind of hub and spoke model of the counties working together on a professional level. So it breaks down silos. I mentioned at the outset our data initiative. This is something that we're very proud to continue to build. This is a mountain of data and information that we are building every year. Currently, we have more than 4 million county relevant data points. We continue to build this. Currently, we're pulling in budget data as well as court data. But we've migrated this onto a web-based platform so it's accessible to you and your professional staff. We use it to do analysis on policies that affect you. And you've seen a lot of products. I just kind of splashed some of those up for you. But it's really the foundation upon which we do a lot of our work. We're doing some research projects. Our team secured $1.4 million in grants from the Arizona Board of Regents to get university partners to work with us on issues that are relevant to you. And so most recently, we've been focused on recruitment and retention. We worked first with the PSPRS Board of Trustees on a work group that was tasked by the legislature, and our team did the project management. Now we are working with the Arizona Sheriff's Association on a project specifically related to detention and the recruitment and retention issues that are in that space. So we're very optimistic about what that'll yield in terms of improving that function. One of the grants also funded a procurement study where we are working with academics to identify best practices in procurement. This is a partnership we're doing with the League. I think it also has value for other local governments, school districts, what have you. But it is about identifying metrics and efficient ways to really add value in the procurement space. And I put up here as well our recently released county expenditure limit report. And this really highlights how on areas where counties have to deal with big policy issues, expenditure limits, property tax limits, you know the whole special districts, we're trying to take all the information that we have in multiple files and bring them on a web-based platform so you have a kit. And so when you're interested in this policy area, there's a whole toolkit that you're able to navigate. Now, expenditure limits are an issue in Yuma County. This kit has been something that is empowering Coconino and Yavapai County as they're going out to have a conversation with their voters about how to adjust their expenditure limit. I wanted to highlight here the collaborative work that you and your colleagues have been doing through our organization to control the costs of the pension systems. Several years ago, if you look on the left, the funded status of the CORP system and PSPRS were in an abysmal situation. Our organization worked on the reforms to those systems, but probably more importantly, we supported work with you all to figure out how to pay that debt down in a more efficient way. We started engaging the PSPRS Board of Trustees to provide feedback on their assumptions. Some of the volatility that was affecting this was because of assumptions. Our team spends a lot of time providing feedback in that space, and we worked with the legislature on providing control. So you can see how that's improved. You'll note that the one that has not improved is the closed elected officials retirement plan that was closed several years ago. The reason we as counties have not been able to solve that just yet is that it requires state partnership. We can't do it alone. And so what we have done is worked with PSPRS, to change assumptions to control the volatility in it. That stabilizes the fund. And we worked with the legislature, specifically Chairman Livingston in the House, to develop a specific plan to pay that off if the state wants to work with us to do that. And so there is a template to get that done if the resources and the collaboration at the state level is available. So I'm very proud of how we've all gone down this road together. We also secured the $3 million in a NEORP subsidy to all the rural counties while we work on getting that stabilized. Now, broadband is another strategic initiative that we're all involved in. This is something that counties worked on for years, sending a signal to the legislature and federal government that this is something that needs federal and state investment. Incremental gains over years with the state legislature providing some grants. Now the federal government's provided about $1 billion to deploy. And I know every county is working on that in their local regions. Our role has been to serve as a conduit with the state and the governor's interagency task force, as well as communicating to federal partners on issues that are relevant to you. So I'll transition a little bit into the legislature, and got a few slides there that really just kind of highlight a few things. But probably most importantly, there are hundreds of bills that touch county operations. You know that.
Yes,
Supervisor Pendergrass, you know that more than anybody.
And
And lawmakers rarely understand what they may mean locally. And so part of what we try to do is share that information with them. New bills will be effective on September 14th, and we've provided some materials to help implement those. But generally speaking, though there was a lot of bills that would have caused a lot of real problems in the counties, I think things worked out fairly well just through that dialogue with county officials and the state. The biggest thing we were worried about last October when we had our strategic planning session was the state's budget situation. And you know, in prior recessions, the state has tapped county dollars to solve its problem. The state had about a $1.4 billion in a deficit that they had to solve. There's a lot on this slide, but the key items share with you that generally speaking, the state solved its budget problem in its budget. It cut agencies, it swept funds, it suspended capital projects. So that's a good thing. And they also kept about a $1.5 billion rainy day fund intact. So that's helpful too, right? And you know that when the state, when the state has difficulties, it rolls downhill.
they didn't transfer it all on the county's back.
It did not. And there are a couple things that I'll highlight, though,
Yeah.
that we do need to keep working on. But this just shows you a lot of the areas that the state did touch. And most importantly for us, they swept the dollars that they were going to put into the Water Infrastructure Finance Authority. So this is about water augmentation, water conservation, right? One of the issues of our time. And the state had made a $1 billion commitment. They've had to suspend investments in that. And so that's really important about where we go and how the state addresses it. The state swept its own opioid settlement money and applied it to the Department of Corrections for related purposes. It didn't touch the county opioid money, which we were worried about when we saw this roll out. So that's a good thing. But it is worth noting that the state was providing grants from its share to local partners, including counties. So that's going to be affected for counties that were securing that. Now, I mentioned that not everything was great in the budget. And so I wanted to highlight these items. These are lingering county-related issues that are in the state budget that we need to continue to work on. At the top is the shift to Maricopa County to fund the State Department of Juvenile Corrections. Yuma used to have to pay that as well, as did all the rural counties. But rural legislators, including yours, helped get Yuma County out of that. And so we continue to work on it for Maricopa, but I worry about it sliding back. Probation. Probation is a critically important function locally. It's a function that is a state function controlled by the Arizona Office of the Courts. The counties are funding partners in it. We don't control it. The state has not been providing its share of resources for state-funded probation officers. Didn't do it again this year. We worked with the courts. We educated a lot of legislators in the governor's office. They did not add new money to their budget for this. Governor Hobbs did step up and identify federal resources to backfill that shortfall for 1 fiscal year. So the issue is, how do we create a sustainable solution for probation? And then similarly on JP funding, the counties pay 60% of justices of the peace salaries, the state pays 40%. They swept money out of that fund. We were concerned that maybe that would affect the county reimbursements. They did keep the obligation the same, 60-40. And given some pay raises that they did in the system, that pot is now underfunded. And so we're going to have to work with the governor's office to get money in that fund so that it doesn't end up getting pushed over to the county taxpayer. That's some of what we'll be working on going forward. Now, these are items that are in the budget, and I wanted to highlight these. These are not new issues. These are issues that we worked on together. So if you look on the right, prior county appropriations, you remember from our prior board meetings, we worked together to secure indigent defense funding and juvenile dependency funding, cybersecurity grants, EORP relief, in lieu lottery money. Those are all things that we worked with your lawmakers to get secured. Those were items I was worried that could get cut. They were not. And so it was a good thing that lawmakers protected those. Quick advertisement on our reactive advocacy. I only have a couple slides on this, but no, this is a mammoth role that our team is involved in. We review every bill that comes in the process, how it touches county operations. We bother Ian for feedback on it and Alejandro, and then we get guidance from our supervisors, and then we engage it. This is just a list of the policy areas that we all had to engage on the county's behalf. And this is a list of bills that did pass. The items up on the upper left are the bills that we supported and advocated directly for. Expanding the Criminal Justice Commission Board, working on the automatic recount issue that was so hot in the fall and then was solved early in the year. And I do want to commend the election officials and our partners at ACO for their outstanding work on that. I was really grateful for everything that they did. It was a good coalition effort and was successful. Beyond this, we are looking at implementation of bills. There are a lot of little ticky-tacky things that folks are asking about. Probably top of mind is there was a mandated report for all counties and all cities to report out permitting numbers to the Arizona Commerce Authority with the idea that they would identify process improvements or what have you. We are working to make sure that that data is clear data, that it's not in a way where people can just draw conclusions that aren't well informed. So we did advocate to the Commerce Authority to have more detail in what they were asking for. And we're going to review it all to make sure that we understand where this all goes. We always value making decisions off good data. We just want to make sure that the story's there and that you're well represented. Bounce ahead. When we wrap up a session, we put out a bunch of reports, and these have all come your way. So this is the 4 reports that we have distributed. They're available to your team. They help people navigate what was in the state budget and in state law. This Supervisor Pancrazi shows that you didn't waste your time with us every Friday on the conference call. We're picking bills, but those are just the numbers. We deliberated 75 bills through that we triaged as really critical for counties, had a good result in terms of working on amendments, things like that. And many supervisors came down to talk to lawmakers, and I found that to be so incredibly helpful, as well as the emails and all of that. And then finally, the reward for wrapping up a legislative session is you have to start doing it all over again. Yeah. So I wanted to put this in here. We are beginning our board meeting September 19th, and then we're going to meet in Pinal County in October to set our strategic plan for this next legislative session. So please join us. We'd love to have you at the table, and then we'll start identifying what we want to work with lawmakers on going forward. And just as a final note, I do want to thank you all for the relationship you do have with your legislative delegation. It's very positive. I know that you always get information in. It helps everybody out to have that very close relationship, and the work that your team does and Dorn Policy Group in supporting you. I am very grateful for the support that we all get from you in how we support you. So I want to thank you again for that. Mr. Chairman, I know I took a lot of your time. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Craig?
Oh, that's fine.
We'll see you in October.
Well, thank you for your trip
Thank
down
you,
here.
Craig.
I know it's a quick one, but hey, you
It's a boring one,
need to
but
get
you-
back.
I know, that's what it is.
No,
Thank you, Craig.
thank you, Craig.
Well, it's really my pleasure. And please let us know whenever we can be of assistance.
Have a safe trip back.
Thank you.
Be careful.
Moving on to item number 5. County Administration, Construction Management, here a brief update on the progress of key projects that make up the county's capital improvement project, facility construction program. We got Dave. And
Well, it'll be very brief if I can't move the slide.
that's very expensive, Craig.
You just wanted to speed up our meeting, huh? I know. Bye, Craig. Have fun. Have a good trip.
Good morning, Chairman Porteous, members of the board, Dave Hillen, Construction Projects Director, here with your bi-monthly CIP construction program update. The 6 projects that make up the backbone of the program, if you will, with the 3 that we're going to dive into a little bit today, highlighted in blue. We will spend a brief moment on the other 3 as well at the end of the presentation. Starting with the Yuma County Administration Services Building. As a reminder, this is a construction manager at risk project delivery with BWS Architects and Pilkington Construction as our CMAR. By way of status, we are working consecutively through the GMP 3 and 4 phase packages. We see progress complete, approximately 75% through GMP 3. That is based on percent build to date through that package, with an anticipation of wrapping up the scope of services in March of 25. GMP 4, which is the bulk of the construction itself, approximately 13% complete build out as of now, and scheduled to continue through completion in June, end of June 2025. We have started on the county side what we're calling pre-planning move sessions with all the departments that will be moving into the building to get them ready to share our expectations and to offer our assistance in what is undoubtedly a daunting task of preparing to make that move. Those are ongoing as we speak. We are working, as you know from our last board meeting, working with our first position furniture vendor. Those talks are continuing this week as well, and with the expectation that we'll be back on October 7th with the contract presentation to the board. And then we are gearing up for you all to come and walk the site with us on October the 7th. And as a reminder, at the groundbreaking, you were provided with hard hats. If you can make sure you have those with you and wear sturdy shoes, and the team is excited to have you come and walk through and see the progress of the building at that date. A couple of snapshot update photos of the project. On the left-hand side, you see the south entry lobby area with the staircase that it goes to the 3rd floor. On the top right, you see the main corridor, north-south corridor through the heart of the building with the elections rooms on the left-hand side, a portion of the Board of Supervisor auditorium and communication studio on the right. It's hard to see, but I counted about a dozen yellow and orange jerseys working just in that one area. So we are ramping up towards the peak of activity, if you will, and anticipate. What do you know? I'd like to introduce, while I have him here too, Mr. Adam Griffin with Kitchell CEM, who has been a huge help to us through the project management portion, and he keeps tabs of all the man hours worked and numbers on site. I believe we're expecting around 40 at the peak, right, at any one time on site working. So we're rapidly approaching that point. Photo on the bottom right here is looking through the new Board of Supervisor auditorium towards the north, towards the loading dock area and that side of the building. 2nd floor, you can see the framing has started here. That's where a lot of activity is taking place right now as they move south, from north to south across the 2nd floor. And then our roofers are on site as well. And you see all their materials up there as they work from the southwest corner, moving towards the northeast across the roof. A couple of exterior shots. These are already outdated. These are all the recently placed columns in the front that will support the covered walkway along Main Street. Those forms have all been stripped and are completed now. You'll notice right up about here is our CFO's office, Gil, which is now available to anyone who's looking for a nice office. And then this backside, the main lane side, as we see it from the north, looking towards the loading dock area, operational support area, and again, the Board of Supervisor auditorium space will be in this location. A very brief and reduced schedule. You did see this last time. We were here in September, working our way through, again, GMP 3 and 4 packages, which will continue into the spring of 2025. We're still on track right now for substantial completion in May and certificate occupancy at the end of June. We hope to start furnishing the building during the month of June so we can start moving activities right away at early July. We're holding this window approximately 3 months to complete all move-in and hopeful that that can be reduced a little bit. We are anticipating, and these aren't set in stone by any means, but we hope to have some sort of, that initial Board of Supervisors meeting, sort of break a bottle of champagne across the building kind of a thing or something. And then we'll have a final project closeout with all the final accounting and everything in September, possibly into October of 25. Snapshot of the project budget. Again, on the left-hand side, you see a simplified version, a summary totaling up to the total project budget of 54.9. To date, we have expended 23.1 with a balance of 31.7 to go through completion. Pause there just for a second. That's the last slide on this project. If there are any questions on this project before
Yeah,
we move to the next.
does that include the furniture, or is that?
Yes, yeah, that's included with, we have that, carrying that under an owner-provided service.
Wanted to make sure.
I read, Dave, I read that they were closing the street so that they could put in the elevator. Is that?
We had on the south side on 2nd Street, we had a closure while the CMU block was placed for the elevator. We have periodic closures to allow equipment in through the Main Street side. I think that may be what you saw this morning. But yes.
No, I read it in Sunday's paper, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we did have, I think it was a 2-week closure on 2nd Street for that and the placement of that staircase that you saw in the one photo there.
Okay.
Moving to the Public Health Department facility expansion renovation project. This is a design build delivery using Mortenson Construction Cunningham Design. This is the largest design build project I've been involved with, and I've been really impressed with how Mortenson Cunningham have been working with us on this project. And the team, they've really done well in engaging the health department staff, and there's a lot of excitement across this department for this project to move forward. You see where we are now in the design phase. We have recently completed design development here towards the end of August, and are in the early phases of construction documents development, and anticipate a mid-October completion, at which point in time the documents will be ready for plan review and permit. This is again an overview of the project itself. You see the new construction, primarily in this location here across the entry, and the expanded area for nursing, as well as some interior moves. And I'll show you one example here, and then you'll see a photo of it shortly, or a rendering. This green area right now is where our WIC program is currently located, and this yellow area here is where they're relocating to. And this is a great example of the need for that realignment of the department space inside of the facility. They were cramped and overflowing where they were before, and this gives them much more room to be able to provide the services that they provide, as well as being more easily accessed from the entry area. So it's quite an interesting challenge to get everybody relocated to where they need to be, but we're excited about the way it's coming together. This is an existing photo, of course, the entry drive from the south looking towards the north at the entry. Again, some of the primary things we're looking to address are to deal with these two separate east and west entrances that are connected by an outdoor exterior covered walkway. And this is a rendering of what we're working towards from roughly that same position, with a single entrance point here, and then you see the expansion area here on the left-hand side for nursing activities, as well as a lot of public activity being able to take place here across the front. We have a community room, if you will, that can be used for trainings, clinics, demonstrations, and so on. And then support facilities on the other side, and again, immediate access to the corridor that brings you to the other public-facing services. another angle of that same entry area so you can really get a good idea of the expansion of that southwest side of the facility. And then a couple interior shots. So going back to WIC again, this is the proposed renovations to that lobby space above with plenty of room for the number of clients that they work with on a daily basis. And then as they go back into the building, you see a proposed image of what the private interview rooms would look like as they consult with their staff.
I like the more narrow hallways instead of those huge.
This is yeah, unfortunately we can't do too much about that main hallway. That will remain, but we're gonna look for ways to soften it up and make better use of that space. So again, the architect and the design team have some good ideas on how to accomplish that goal. This is a secondary hallway, if you will, that is within the department space itself. To date, this is where we stand as far as the budget goes. All the fees have been in the design side. We do have, again, being design build, our contractors involved at this stage. So we have some contractor fees essentially as a construction manager built into the professional services phase, and then they'll slide over into the construction when we get there. So 20.5 total budget and 945 spent to date. Any questions on that project before continuing?
Mr. Chairman, I might just interject, as per board direction, no construction or remodel will begin until we have final clarity on the U of A relocation. We're still working out the details of the appraisal of that land sale from U of A, but again, as the board has directed, until that issue is resolved and we have clarity on what's happening with U of A, there won't be any physical construction or remodel occurring. Thank you.
Renovation of the historic courthouse for Justice Court Precinct 1. Again, another construction manager at risk delivery method with BWS and Pilkington Construction. Design was complete in, I believe it was in July that we had received the permit. And we have started construction now. We have the contractors mobilized and completed their site setup. Demolition work started early part of last week and has a very short duration. Demolition is not extensive on this project. We are looking at a roughly 4-month duration renovation per floor, which takes us into, I'm showing now, we did have to slide the schedule a little bit to accommodate the public defender move out, but we're looking at early April of 25 completion. A couple snapshots of demolition in progress on that second floor where public defender was located previously. And again, this is a reminder, the areas in blue are the areas on each floor, second floor on the left, third floor on the right where the work is taking place. The bulk of that work again being in this area here where the new courtroom goes in, judges' chambers and holding cells below. You saw this last time as well, just a reminder of what that finished courtroom will look like based on architect's renderings. And budget to snapshot to date, again, all in mostly on the design side, professional services at 158, owner provided service with permit and other items that are necessary for startup. I do show this item in red just as a note. We did have the BRT added. I don't remember the exact number. I believe it was 160,000 for a court AV system upgrade that was added to this project budget. So that slight change there. And we actually have a coordination meeting on that topic right after this today. Any questions on the court project before moving? This is the last slide, and again, just a quick snapshot of these other 3 projects in the program. As Ian referenced, the University of Arizona, I can only speak to the design side. We use that same solicitation to hire Mortensen Cunningham as design build for both the health and the U of A project. They have completed their scope of services for the initial startup phase, which was to develop some concept plans and order of magnitude estimating, and they've done that. They've delivered a number of different renditions and shown that we can build the 12,000 square foot model. That was one of the options under consideration completely within the revised budget for that project. If we went to the larger footprint, the 15,000 square foot size, the budget won't take us there, but it will allow us to build a shell that could be finished out at a later date. Apart from that, the land acquisition process is still being looked at and addressed by others. The emergency management project is under contract for design services. We have a meeting later today as well to wrap up the programming and schematic design phase and move into design development. The anticipation there is that will be awarded via the state JOC program. And we will come back to the board with that construction contract. I anticipate November, ahead of the deadline this is that ARPA funded project, so we'll make sure that we stay in front of the deadlines associated with that. And then lastly, the facilities management ITS project on Avenue B. At this point in time, there is no update to give on this other than we are looking at where an RFP for design services might slot into the overall program schedule. So we're looking at late this year, possibly early 2025. That, if there are any other questions, happy to answer. Otherwise,
Any questions, Dave? I do have a speaker form for this presentation. William?
Chairman, William Katz, in-house counsel, Western Sands Land. I don't have any questions at this time. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Moving on to item number 6. Chairman proclaims September 15, October 15, 2024 to be Hispanic Heritage Month in Yuma County.
Well, first I want to thank staff for making the letters bigger, just in case I can't read the smaller letters. But okay, so we'll begin by saying this is a proclamation proclaiming September 15th to October 15th, 2024 as Hispanic Heritage Month in Yuma County. Whereas on August 17, 1988, Public Law 100-402 authorized President Reagan to establish September 15th through October 15th as National Hispanic Heritage Month. And whereas the National Hispanic Heritage Month is an opportunity to celebrate a legacy of traditions, rich culture, and honor the significant achievements of our Hispanic and Latino American communities. And whereas Hispanics are the largest ethnic minority group in the country and make valuable contributions to the community in business, industry, government, education, the science, arts, and faith. And whereas Hispanics have served with distinction in military conflicts since the Revolutionary War and continue to defend our country totally today as members of the armed forces. These brave men and women bring us home honor, and we're grateful for their service and sacrifice. And whereas the respective background of Hispanic and Latino Americans are an integral part of Yuma County and have made enormous contributions to our diverse society by sharing their talents, culture, traditions, and their deep connection to family values. Therefore, I, Martin Porches, Chairman of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors, proclaim the month of September 15, October 15, 2024, to be Hispanic Heritage Month in Yuma County.
Thank you, Supervisor Reyes. And we have with us Mexican Consul Dulce Maria Valle Alvarez to accept the proclamation.
And I do want to say a couple of words before you do that. It's been an honor for me to start recognizing Hispanic Heritage Month in a county that's 60-something, 68% or 70% Hispanic, whereas we represent South County, which is mostly Hispanic. And it's an honor for me to finally begin recognizing that the contributions are made throughout the whole country, not just in South County, not just in Yuma County, not just in Santa Cruz County, but in Maricopa County and Pima County. Everywhere the Hispanics have been, they have contributed something. So in times of border crises, as the supervisor has been in the border for 40 years, I can tell you right now that contributions far outpace whatever negatives you can say about Hispanics. They do contribute a lot to this society. They serve in the military. They do a lot of things for us. That reminds us that we are a diverse population that enjoys being a diverse population. I truly believe this is a long time coming.
Thank you. Thanks for this introduction and thanks for this invitation. It is an honor for me to be here for this ceremony of the proclamation from the Hispanic month. If you don't mind, because we are talking about Spanish influences, I will speak in Spanish, if you don't mind. I give to you some English copy. It's more or less what I want to say now. Yes.
I have a copy. Thank you.
Okay. realmente para mí es muy importante porque es un hecho, primero quiero dar las gracias a todos los miembros de la Junta de Supervisores por este acto, que es muy importante, altamente simbólico, pero muy importante porque, como lo dijo el señor Reyes hace unos minutos, la contribución de los hispanoparlantes es en todo Estados Unidos, no solamente en el condado de Yuma y de La Paz, sino en todo el país. Me parece que hay unos 595 millones de personas hispanoparlantes en este país, lo que convierte a Estados Unidos en el segundo país en el que se habla más el español, después de México y antes que España. O sea, hay más hispanoparlantes aquí que en España. Entonces creo que esto es muy importante y eso demuestra, este acto demuestra el reconocimiento, y eso yo agradezco profundamente, a la contribución positiva que todas estas comunidades hispanoparlantes han hecho a este bello país, Estados Unidos. Yo estoy convencida que el bilingüismo engrandece, fortalece a la nación. El español es una de las 6 lenguas oficiales de las Naciones Unidas y es la segunda lengua más hablada en el mundo. Entonces, me parece que el que Estados Unidos tenga esta riqueza cultural y la reconozca es un plus. Es un plus. Hay países muy importantes que también son bilingües o trilingües o cuatrilingües, como Suiza, como Bélgica, como Canadá. Y creo que eso fortalece a la población, engrandece a la población. Desde 1968, en Estados Unidos se empezó a celebrar la hispanidad durante una semana. Y desde 1988 es un mes, como lo dijo el señor Reyes, del 15 de septiembre al 15 de octubre. Eso realmente es un gran logro y es muy importante. Ya no quiero entretenerme más porque habría mucho que decir sobre el doloroso encuentro de 2 culturas que ocurrió hace muchos siglos, pero que ahora nos da muchas lecciones y nos da mucha riqueza cultural, artística, cultural, literaria, política. Entonces, simplemente agradezco, señor Porchas, señor Tony Reyes, señor Darwin Simmons, Madame Pancrazi, el que me hayan hecho el honor de recibir esta proclama. Muchísimas gracias, de verdad.
Gracias, cónsul.
Y se la vamos a entregar.
Sí.
Vamos a entregar 2 juntas.
Pero, ¿puedo decir algunas palabras sobre la segunda proclama?
Ajá.
Sí, dice con Juan. La proclama en la que se reconoce el 16 de septiembre como el Día de la Independencia en el condado de Yuma. Es un hecho también simbólico. O sea, realmente la cultura en México es milenaria, mucho antes de 1810 o de 1821, cuando se consuma la independencia. Es milenaria, realmente es una cultura muy rica y es realmente esta celebración de la independencia un motivo de unión, sobre todo para los que estamos fuera de México. La gente que está fuera de México vive este evento cívico con más emoción y es un momento de reencuentro y de reconocimiento de sus raíces. Yo creo que nunca hay que avergonzarse de sus raíces, al contrario. O sea, la cultura mexicana va más allá del folclore y la comida. Es mucho más que eso y creo que lo reconocen y es muy importante cada año para la representación diplomática del Gobierno de México en Yuma, que es el consulado, de festejar cada año esta fiesta. Yo quiero agradecer a todos los copatrocinadores que han hecho posible que podamos realizar este evento cívico, entre ellos el Comité del Bienestar. Señor Reyes, muchísimas gracias por su apoyo, como cada año. Tenemos otros copatrocinadores como la empresa Wogwant, o tenemos también inclusive la persona que tiene la empresa para fumigar y que fumigan el consulado. También contribuye el Mercado del Sol. También en este año, por primera vez, hizo una muy importante contribución a la fiesta nacional. Y en fin, ya reconoceré ese día a todos los copatrocinadores que han hecho posible que tengamos este magnífico evento de reencuentro y de orgullo nacional. Quiero aprovechar, si me permiten, ya que tengo la palabra, invitarlos a todos ustedes que me hagan el honor de estar presentes en la fiesta nacional. Este año la celebramos el 13 de septiembre, el viernes, porque muchos se van a México el fin de semana y me quedaría sin público el sábado y el domingo. Entonces es el viernes 13 la fiesta nacional. Se abrirá al público a las 5 de la tarde. Yo creo que durará hasta las 8:30, 9 de la noche. Igual que el año pasado, habrá una exposición al inicio. En este año el estado invitado es Nayarit, así que contaremos con exposiciones artesanales y artísticas del estado de Nayarit. Y espero que ustedes disfruten ese elenco que tendrá danza, música, baile, mariachis, y creo que será un evento artístico y cívico con la participación de las universidades de Baja California. El rector me hizo el favor de prestarnos la banda de guerra y la escolta y los mariachis, y la Universidad de Sonora, su grupo de danza. Entonces tenemos la participación de nuestros 2 estados que colindan con esta mega región, pero también del estado de Nayarit en esta ocasión. Entonces están ustedes cordialmente invitados, todo el público. I will invite everybody in English also, because it's also from the Mexican friends, not only from the Mexican community, also from the Mexican friends that came to this party. Thank you very much again. Muchísimas gracias otra vez. Y a todos ustedes, y un saludo al administrador del condado, al fiscal del condado y a todos los que están aquí en la mesa.
Gracias, cónsul. Ahorita voy a leer la proclamación de independencia y luego pasamos para abajo y le damos las dos.
Muy bien.
Okay, I'm gonna read what she talked about in English.
Okay.
Good thing is that she wrote it down. Honorable members of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure and honor to receive 2 important proclamations today, the Proclamation of Hispanic Heritage Day and the Proclamation of September 16 as Mexican Independence Day in Yuma County. Hispanidad Month was first a week in 1968, but since 1988, it has become a month of celebration from September 15 to October 15 of each year. It is an important symbolic fact because it is a recognition of the contribution that the Hispanic community has made to the United States and this mega region in particular. Spanish is one of the 6 official languages of the United Nations and the 2nd most spoken, heard, written, and sung languages in the world. Spanish is officially spoken in 21 countries, and there are approximately 595 million Spanish speakers in the world. 57 million Spanish speakers live in the United States, more than in Spain. The United States has the 2nd largest number of Spanish speakers in the world, after Mexico with 127 million. September 16 is also a date of great significance and celebration both inside and outside of Mexico. Every year we remember the cry for the independence as a historic event that is part of the formation of our national identity. This celebration unites the Mexican people with a sense of togetherness, a national pride. This feeling is even stronger when you live outside of Mexico, remembering and feeling the essence of being Mexican, whether by birth, naturalization, or conviction, is something that the diplomatic mission of Mexico in Yuma wants to recreate, and by organizing a civic event every year so that those of us who are outside our national territory can have a reunion with our historic history, with our roots. I would like to take this opportunity to invite you all to the Mexican Independence celebration that will be held this year on Friday, September 13th at the Yuma Civic Center. The doors will open for 5 p.m. with an exhibition like last year, but this time the guest state is Nayarit. The Artistic program is varied with music, dance, mariachis. It is a free family event. It will be an honor to have you join us for this event. Finally, I would like to thank the members of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors for recognizing the achievements and contributions of the Mexican community to the culture and economy of Yuma County. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Borges. Yes.
And I'll go ahead and move on to item number 7 and proclaim September 16, 2024 to be Mexican Independence Day in Yuma County. Proclaiming a day of September 16, 2024 to be Mexican Independence Day in Yuma County. Whereas on September 16, 1810, Father Miguel Hidalgo gave the memorable Grito de Dolores speech in Dolores, Guanajuato, Mexico, which marked the beginning of a long journey towards independence. This day is celebrated as Mexican Independence Day, and whereas on August 24, 1821, the Treaty of Cordova was signed, giving birth to a new and independent nation led by Agustín de Iturbide, who was also appointed after leading the victorious Trigarante army into Mexico City. And whereas Yuma County has a historic relationship with Mexico based on a strong social, cultural, and economic ties, and whereas this family-friendly civic celebration is designed to educate the border community about Mexican history, empower and serve as a link between the Mexican community and a local nonprofit organizations and service, and whereas the Mexican community, as part of the growing Hispanic population in the county, is an important and active participant in Yuma society's culture, economy, and whereas Mexican Independence Day is a day for Yuma citizens of Mexican heritage to celebrate their culture by honoring the rich history and traditions and spirits of Mexican. Now, therefore, the day of September 16, 2024 is hereby proclaimed to be Mexican Independence Day in Yuma County.
Thank you.
And we can go down and vote.
Everything on Jonathan's.
Me los des, traigo nuevecitos, cabrón.
Me olvidaron los zapatos y los trayendo.
Yo tengo esos, pero no me
We won't do the mix, huh? Or what?
Are we ready? No, we're not.
No mix.
No mix
Not
today.
working.
Get up next week.
We'll move on to consent calendar. The following items listed under the consent agenda will be considered as a group and acted upon by one motion with no separate discussion unless a board member so requests. In that event, the item will be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action. And I have items 1 to 14. Anybody?
I'd like to pull number 11.
Number 11.
And if there are no other items to be pulled, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion we approve consent items 1 through 20, what is it?
1 through 14.
1 through 14, with the exception of number 11.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second to approve items 1 through 14 with the exception of number 11. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Facilities management.
Okay, the main thing I wanted to pull on this one was just to recognize Gail Meekum for her donation towards the county parks and the enhancement fund on those. I know it's an item they've been working on for a while to be able to make that possible for donations. So I just wanted to thank her and recognize her for her $500 cash donation.
Thank you.
And with that, I'll make a motion to approve number 11.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve item number 11 as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Move on to discussion and action items. The board will open each of the following items separately for discussion and action as appropriate. Item number 1, development services, discussion of possible action to direct staff to prepare amendments to the zoning ordinance, subdivision regulations, and building code adoption resolution as allowed by state statute. 2, seek support and propose legislation allowing more code flexibility to counties. And 3, prepare and advertise a request for qualifications for permitting software vendors.
Good morning, Chairman Porches, members of the board. Craig Sellers, Director of Development Services. With me today is Ty Martinez, Chief Building Official. We wanted to begin with a brief discussion on some of the things we've been doing recently to improve both efficiency and flexibility with applicants and contractors. We will then give presentation of some of the alternatives that are available but need to be done through ordinance. And so we wanted to bring those to you to get direction on those items. And Ty will begin with giving an overview of his activities with the city and applicants.
Good morning. So one of the glaring topics that usually comes out is the timeline that it takes to process a permit, the review timeline. So there's always a comparison usually to the city of Yuma, and grateful for the opportunity to meet with Mr. Randy Chris, CBO, City of Yuma. We meet regularly, monthly, and have discussions about our process compared to their process. And it's helped me realize that there's some areas that we can make some adjustments in, and we've done that. And it's helped us. We're definitely cutting into our review times. And with that, we've actually had conversations in regards to our challenges as well. And it's good to know that we're not alone. The city has their challenges as well, but we are making good progress into cutting into our timelines for our reviews. With those meetings, I also meet with fire code officials, fire marshals. Fire marshal from the city of Yuma, Kayla Franklin, and also Corey Schultz with Rural Metro. So we discuss fire code and some of the things that could affect us and any ways that we can improve our process with the fire code as well. Something that we want to do is see what the city's doing with the fire code, with the building codes that they're looking at. I'm attending building code advisory meetings, and we're going over what new codes that are coming, something that would greatly affect us and help us moving forward with development. And something that the city adopted or that they're using right now is a self-inspection program. This allows contractors to be a part of the inspection process for some smaller items in which we feel comfortable that they're able to do inspections, and that would eliminate us having to be out on the job site or traveling out to various areas of the county. We're pretty spread out, so this helps us a lot in that area. So we're actually going to implement that self-inspection program in the county. So that's going to be something that's going to help us out a lot. I think the contractors are going to be excited for the opportunity to be a part of the process. So we'll be doing that soon. Commercial and custom residential permit
Before you
performance.
leave that.
Yes.
Before you leave that, isn't that how Boeing started the process?
I'm sorry?
Isn't that how Boeing started the process of self-checking? I want to make sure that we don't go beyond the safety factor, that those checks are just regular small-time checks and they don't go beyond that. I'm all for whatever it takes to lower the time that it takes to get an inspection done by Yuma County and lower the cost. But I'm also very cognizant of the fact that that's how some of the big issues began, with somebody self-inspecting. The idea of inspecting something is for somebody else to take a look at it, not for the invested party to see themselves that they're doing it. I understand the need for expediency. I like that. I just want to caution you not to go beyond the smaller checks that are normally important to the subdivider or whomever the applicant may be. Just don't let it get to a point where we start looking at inspections that failed and then we say, well, we let them self-inspect and what do we do now, right? Especially foundation work, plumbing work. Those are basic, essentially, how you start a process. And they may seem small at the time you do it, but they're the basis and the foundation for whatever goes on top. So I just want to put my 2 cents in. As a developer, I love the idea of expediency, but as a customer, sometimes that is what begins a process, those small inspections. So just choose them carefully, okay?
Lynn has, go ahead. Supervisor.
Hi, Tom.
Thank you.
Give me an example of what they could self-inspect.
So those are good questions. And so basically what it is, there's interior and exterior coverings and also roof sheeting. So for instance, what's been implemented with the self-inspection program is drywall, glass, and roof sheeting. Those are the inspections that we're approving right now to do. And to answer your question, Supervisor Reyes, is that we also do audits. So they're not just going to go out there and do the inspections and we take their words for it. They're still going to schedule. So I know the city has a method in which they have a sticker that they place on the job site that says they've done their inspection. What we're going to do a little bit differently, we're still going to have the applicant still schedule an inspection. So if the inspector is in the area, we're going to stop by and we're going to take a look at it. If we're feeling comfortable with the process, we're okay with it. But they're going to be very minor things at this point, no foundations at this point with the self-inspection program. It's basically interior coverings, exterior covering, and the roof sheeting. And the reason I like the roof sheeting portion of it is that anytime I can eliminate the chances of injury, I don't want an inspector on a roof if I don't have to have an inspector on a roof. So if we can have a program in place in which the work can be done and we can actually verify, yeah, you know what, the work is good, we're good with that. And that's something that we think is going to be effective, and it's going to be safe. I think it helps us eliminate injuries as well. But no, they're going to be pretty minor things to start off with. We want to get a feel for where the community's at with it and how comfortable we are with it. But we're still going to be auditing and still doing the inspections too, coming by and checking on it.
I just want the liability factor to be taken into account, because when somebody doesn't like the product at the end, they're going to blame whomever inspected it. And they normally be the ones that, the entities like Yuma and the entities like San Luis and Somerton and Welton that have their own inspection system, especially the county. Now, I like the fact that you guys are working together, because I think a lot of the construction just sort of bleeds over to the city of Yuma, the city of Yuma bleeds over to the county. But they also do that in San Luis and Somerton and Welton, and even Martinez Lake, which I know is county. But I want, this cosmetic inspection, the cosmetics of something, you're going to get a lot of these complaints that are directed to the developer themselves or the builder themselves. But some of them are safety issues, and those are the ones that you're carefully not to miss. Because if there's a liability, those are safety issues that need to be covered by the county because of liability issues. I mean, people complain about houses and how they're built and how they look all the time. Even if you do a good job, it's an opinion. But what isn't an opinion is what goes in the foundations, what goes in the plumbing, what goes in the electrical, what goes in the mechanical. Those are things that we've got to be careful with. And we're not letting somebody self-inspect themselves on safety issues. Roofing, and I know the roofer in the board is not here, it's one of those issues that if it fails, well, yeah, it's going to be noticeable, especially because it doesn't rain much in here. But when it does fail, especially now that we're putting a lot of solar panels on top, you know what that means, right? That means that this roofer is not going to want to guarantee that work because somebody else is going to do something on top. Those are new challenges that are coming up that I like the county to take a look at and see how they can avoid these liability issues for the county themselves, the city of Yuma, of course, and all these other smaller cities. But it's a challenging world you're facing.
Yes.
Don't miss the point that liability is always going to come at the end.
Right. And before we move forward with it, I'll gladly share with you the details of it to be more in depth so we're all comfortable moving forward with it. But
All in all, I feel it's an effective program. The city has done a great job in their presentation, and I appreciate them for their collaboration in this. So, but we're feeling comfortable, and like I said, we'll do a more thorough presentation when that time comes, so everybody's on board with that. So
I'd just like to add real quick while you guys are talking. I'm glad to see you guys talking and working hand in hand, because that's probably one of the biggest complaints I hear is, well, the city wants this, the county wants that. The more we can work together and come together with the same code or whatever for the contractors to deal with, so they're not going crazy trying to figure out who wants what. I think this is great, and I commend you guys for getting together and making this happen.
thank you. So
I agree.
We should work for it.
He's been a great help, and the city staff has been great to work with. But yeah, that's the idea behind it, because every time we're compared, it's always compared, well, the city's doing it this way. And it's funny because when we talk to Randy says, well, they say, well, the county does it this way.
Yeah.
So it's always a little bit of a flop
Yeah.
in that way. But yeah, we're excited for where we're going and the consistency that we're having with the other jurisdictions. And something that we're also doing in regards to the commercial and custom residential permit performance section there, we have a report that we do. And what we do is that we look at the permits that have been submitted. And what we're looking at is the ones that have been hanging around a little bit longer than what they should be. So what we want to do is try to figure out why they're there and figure out how to get them out of there. We don't want to keep permits in our office for an extended amount of time. And usually what people are looking at is how long does it take to get the review out? So we've compared with the city where they're at, and we're actually pretty close to that at this point now. They do have more staff than we have, but we're making great progress and we're cutting our review times. Actually, we're exceeding our time. So that's something that's been really good in the last month and a half. We've really been seeing.
Exceeding your time or exceeding the short?
No, we're actually going below our times.
Oh,
Yeah, so
you're not exceeding.
No, we're actually under our due dates. We've actually been getting under them. So our expectations, I probably should have put it that way.
Okay. Cool.
Expectations.
And let me, before we get off the subject, tell you something. I don't know if this is going to land where it should land, but every small city strives to be like the big cities. In the big cities, it strives to be like the bigger cities. So we keep getting all these MAG standards from like Maricopa County and so forth that are making the time that people have to spend longer. I mean, the requirements are longer. You have open space requirements that are urban, that doesn't apply to really cities on the desert, like small city like San Luis asking for 5, or Somerton asking for 5% open space when you can walk a block and be in the desert. You know, some of them don't make any sense. I wish there was somebody here that brought some common sense to some of those regulations, including the city of Yuma, who's here, to understand that we're not Tucson, we're not Phoenix, we're not Buckeye, we're not even Avondale, we're not. We're San Luis, Somerton, Welton, the county of Yuma, the city of Yuma. And the city of Yuma's regulations they fit the city of Yuma. They don't necessarily fit the city of San Luis or the city of Somerton or the county. People go to the county because they think they're going to go rural, right? They don't expect the regulations they see in the city to apply to the county. That's the biggest surprise county residents get.
Yeah.
That the regulations are actually like the city of Yuma. And the city of Yuma is an urban area, and the county is a rural area. So there's always this conflict about, okay, why would this apply to me? Why would I have to have 5% of open space if I live out in the county and my minimum size yard is 1 acre or 2 acres? I don't need no more open space than what I do. Those are the kind of things that I want the county to look at to see. There's a set of regulations that don't apply. It doesn't matter, they're city, they're urban. And I don't have a problem with the county being a little different than the city of Yuma. I just don't want them to be like the city of Yuma. I want them to be like the city of Yuma in areas that apply. But use some common sense. You're not living in the city of Yuma, you're living in the county of Yuma. And you're not living in San Luis if you think you're gonna fit all the regulations that apply to Yuma or some other, Scottsdale, for example. I used to have an attorney in the city of San Luis that thought Scottsdale was a good place to follow. Well, it is a good place to follow, but the population isn't the same. So apply that a little bit, common sense into what you guys are doing. I don't mind fitting the city of Yuma's regulations as much as we can and doing some joint efforts. But I do mind if you think we're the same, because we're not. And people will tell you, well, hope we're not. And I hope that the effort that you're making is to cut the time shorter for inspections, and not to become the city of Yuma, but to become faster, both the city of Yuma and the county of Yuma, and to have this standardized way of looking at things that makes sure that things happen faster. But faster doesn't necessarily mean better all the time. It's just maybe it's just a word of caution that I've seen this happening over the years where people out in the county, I mean, I go through County 16 and Avenue B, and I look at that house on the right that's falling apart, and I keep thinking, why do we go after people if we can't do anything about this guy? That's the kind of thing that happens a lot in the county. People compare themselves. They think they go to the county, they think there's no regulations. There is regulations, and they're very similar to the city of Yuma. But what I want to be similar to the city of Yuma is on the time it takes to process. Okay?
And that's where we're focused at.
Right, got that.
Appreciate that. Any more questions regarding that section?
No.
No? Okay. In regards to the commercial and custom residential permit performance, so like I said, we're trying to measure out and see how long the permits are in our building, and we're trying to figure out how to get them out. So that's been pretty effective too. Like I said, we've cut back on that. And something we've also incorporated is having these pre-submittal meetings for some of these more complicated projects, like say Martinez Lake. I heard we mentioned Martinez Lake. That's a complicated area. We're seismic zone D. We have a high wind zone area. So it can be a little more challenging. So what we do, what I've been doing as of late is I've been meeting with some of the developers before they submit. And what we're doing is we're looking at areas in which we think could be an issue or a challenge moving forward in the review process. And what we do is we make adjustments before they submit. So by the time they do submit, there's actually less lag in the process. So that's helping as well. The developers are really appreciative of the opportunity to come beforehand and share, look, this is what we're wanting to build out here. What do you guys think about it? And so like I said, this gives us an opportunity to kind of look firsthand at something that we see that could be glaring and say, you know what, this could be an issue here. Can we do something about that? And that usually helps a lot. What I'm seeing as of late, as the building official, is giving the community an opportunity to be a part of the process. You know, instead of us saying, you know, we don't want you doing this and doing that, but to be a part of the process. Here's what the code says. Here's what the code is asking for. Help us get there. What do you think you can do to help us get there? And my job as the chief building official is to interpret the code and to make those determinations if we're there. So at this point, I think we're getting to that point. This is where this infield submittal portion comes in. So a lot of the times in our reviews, we're requiring a lot of data. We need numbers to kind of make sure that we're getting what we need to meet compliance. And one of the plans examiner uses a great example. He says it's like a recipe for baking or making a meal. You have to follow the recipe. So what we're doing in our review, we're following this recipe to try to get to compliance. And so when we get to the point that we're missing something, if it's something that we can get later on in the process, like for instance, we can get it in the inspection process. This would allow us to issue the permit, have the developer or the applicant start working on the project. And when we get to the portion that we needed the data on, we can collect it at the inspection portion. So the permit isn't sitting in our office waiting for the data. We can actually move that portion to the inspection. So that also helps us get the permits out a little bit quicker. So these are the few things that we're doing, but we're actually seeing a lot of good change with it. We're seeing it's been quite effective. So, but we'll keep in mind your recommendations.
I couldn't help but notice that you took out the allow subdivision of current really to forego public hearings. That's one of the biggest issues that we have right now, an open system that allows the public to participate. I don't want that taken out. As a matter of fact, I think it's the opposite. We want people to participate more in the zoning ordinance than less. So I saw you took that out, and I was pleasantly surprised you took that out, because essentially, as a county, I think we're going to a more public participation type situation. So I like that. And you asked for three things, which is prepare amendments to the zoning ordinance, building code adoption. Then you requested support and proposed legislation, and you prepare and advertise. Those three things I think we can do. With the first one being that kind of a situation where you watch, you don't let the safety issue get out of hand. But I think that you hit the point where we can support it without actually disallowing public participation.
Correct.
Public participation is going to be critical in the future, because people expect to see more and hear more about what the county is doing, what they consider to be their property and their right to do whatever they want with their property, especially in the county. So thank you for taking that out, because I was going to ask you guys better look at that.
We do have it in the presentation. We have it in here primarily for the completeness of what the statutes allow us to do. We recognize that with the board direction to increase the notification radiuses and things like that, that there is a desire to increase public participation in decision making, not reduce that. but we wanted to bring it to you so you knew that that was an option within that. So looking at those items, statute does allow us to allow projects to be self-certified. So they could approve their own permit, and they could also do their own inspection, provided that they are engineer or architect that's registered with the state. So they would have the obligation of professional ethics and potential disciplinary action from the state if they failed to do that correctly. Ty's also discussed with me that some of the third-party reviewers get certified through ICC as building inspectors or plan reviewers as well. And so we'd have to look at that and see if that's also a correct way to do that. Hearing what you're talking about today, we'll limit that to safety items at this point. Staff review without public hearing. Again, this is here for completeness, but recognize that the board has been asking for more public input, not less.
In the process, I think that the ones you listed in there, like division, long divisions, lot line adjustment, and lot size, are more like internal stuff that happens in smaller. I'm talking about, tentative plats, final plats, and plan amendments are also sort of taken care of during the zoning process, so you know what's going to happen in that process. You took care of the public while you were trying to determine what you're going to do with the process, which is where I want the public to participate. If we're going to do something that changes their livelihood, the way they live, then I want them to be aware of it before we actually do it. I think that once you made them aware, once you involve them through the public process, then it's easier to say, well, we let you know ahead of time. We were having hearings about this. This is not like a hidden project. This is just a process that takes place when you have a zoning matter that went through the zoning process. So I don't have a problem with without having public hearings when fully compliant. I have a problem with the beginning of the process not being totally open to the public. Thank you.
Expedited reviews are allowed if we have applicants that are consistently compliant with the applications. And what we would envision this looking like is if we've sent out review comments and they have a consistent pattern of having them completed on their next submittal, it's in everyone's benefit to just do that final check. Yes, everything's complete, and get the permit out, or to do an approval based off of, here's your approval contingent upon these review comments. An applicant hiring their own third-party review or inspection. And then in the statute that authorizes the board to adopt building codes, there is a statement that allows the board to exempt provisions of the building code in rural zoned areas. And so if there were this is the only area where I can see right now in statute that we can deviate from the city's code. If we have a rural area that we don't want to apply a particular element of the building code to it, we can make changes to the adoptive language of the building code and not require it. But I think what we are after is a relaxing of code, not an elimination of the code. And so for that to happen, we would need to change the state statute to allow us to adopt the national code or city adopted code, but allow us to amend it. And this would allow us to be fairly consistent with the city, but in areas where the board wants to change just a little bit, it would provide that opportunity to do it. But that has to go through legislative change first. I have not gotten with any of the other counties to see what their position would be with this, but this will be an effort, And I wanted to get the feedback from you before we did that.
You certainly got it from me. I think you crossed it before you got to it.
You're the builder.
Well, I guess so.
And from the builders, we're getting kind of a mix, similar to the discussion we had earlier. There's a desire to have things as close as we can be to the city.
Whatever the city is.
Whatever the city is, for that consistency element. They know what they're doing, whether they're in the city or in the county. So they don't want us to stray to the point where there's going to be confusion about what is being constructed. But there's probably, others have talked about, but is that really needed here in this application? So that's where the discussion comes from there. So what we're requesting is that, based off our discussion today, that we receive direction to prepare amendments to the zoning ordinance, subdivision regulations, and building code adoptive resolution as applicable and as discussed today. That will go through the full process of going to the Planning and Zoning Commission and then come to you for adoption at the end of that resolution. If you'd like to see them before we start into the process, we can do that as well and bring them back to start that process as well. Second, we'd want to seek support before we propose the legislation and make sure that
The other counties are in favor.
counties are doing the same desire. And then finally, we didn't go over our software, but we have been, since the beginning of this year, meeting with a variety of vendors. And what we're seeing is that our current software started out when we got them at the top of feature and so on. They haven't moved and everyone else has. And so they're about average at this point. And so we'd like to advertise for a request for qualifications and be able to present with you. Here would be the benefit of going to other vendors.
Craig, how old is our
Is your computer? Your
software?
We implemented it in January of 2020, so we're at 4 years now. We issued the original RFQ for it in 2018 at the end of it. It will take about a year to implement it. And so what I would see the process being is getting a request for qualifications out would allow us to decide on a vendor for the next budget cycle to do the implementation. It takes about 12 to 14 months to do the implementation. And we'd be ready to roll out probably July of 2026.
But it's not gonna be, I mean, I remember when I started with the county on this board, that was one, besides roads, that was the second complaints that I would hear. And it wasn't so, it was the speediness of returning or calling the applicants, but also the customer service. But I remember the software, and we approved that. I was thinking right now, didn't we we approved software? I think it was 2017 or towards the end, but it was, yeah. And it's like what you were saying right now, the same conversation I think we were having about meeting with the applicants before. I mean, so obviously it seems like that was never done. It took so long to implement it that, if we're gonna buy new software and it's gonna take 4 years, and by the time we're catch up, it's already beyond or not, we're gonna need a new one. It's a continuation, just trying to catch up. I mean, I'm kind of confused. I don't remember, hold on. I don't remember ever talking about changing the code unless someone else did, but at least on my behalf, it was always customer service, the speediness of returning what the applicants turned in or permitting. I mean, not changing the code. I mean, I think I do understand we want to be all in the same, same contractors build in the cities within our county. They're the ones that build in the county. To be on the same page, so it makes it easier for them. I totally agree on that. But, you're asking us to change or to ask for legislation to be changed. Some counties are going to tell you, no, we're not, we don't approve of that.
Some of the feedback we've been getting is that there's a desire that, well, why can't we change this thing in the code? Why do we have to do this way? And I have this up here to illustrate this is what we have to do that. We will work with either code. If we want to continue the same process, we have a good relationship with the city. We have the ability to, at the code advisory boards, to say, this doesn't work with us. Can we get the provision set this way so that we can do it with the current process? What I wanted to do was, if you as a board have a desire to have that, there's no question. If you want to change something, you have the authority to change it. This is the process that needs to be done with it.
May I just simply say three things really quickly as I can. One, the first one was very easy. The statute requires that you adopt the codes of the largest city in the county, which in this case would be Yuma. So you don't have the flexibility of adapting codes for San Luis or from Somerton or even county if we decide to go that way. So the first thing you were asking us is, can we get out of that? Second thing is, that was the flexibility to the counties. This could be one of those things that any county can choose to. I don't remember what they're called now, but I mean, there's things that are mandated and things that are like choices. Where a county chooses to go this way and another county chooses not to, without getting involved in whether that proposal is really amenable to all counties. You could have medium counties and small counties say, yes, we like it that way, and large counties say no. That's what's going to happen with that. Now, the other one, the aging of software programs is not an uncommon situation. I think that I had this discussion with Russell McLeod once about refrigerators at the Yuma County Housing Department, where he says, we got to have an aging program where we change computers every 3 or 4 years, because they're just the kind of equipment that is going to be old in 3 or 4 years. That's what all folks like that choose to understand sometimes. Software is the same way. Software gets old in 3 years, 2 years, 3 years. You have to change it because the new software is just so much faster, so much quicker. I think that what we ought to do is, instead of talking about changing it this once, we ought to set up an aging process where we say every 3 or 4 years we go out we request for qualifications. And we change the software, because the software is going to need to be changed much faster than we at this time can even figure out. With supercomputers, with AI, that's going to be an issue that as a board we need to kind of get into pretty quickly. Not only just on the planning and zoning, not on the development side, but on all sides of the county. Every accounting department is going to change their software pretty quickly. Every human resource department is going to change their software pretty quickly. Everybody is going to be changing computers and software as a matter of policy. And I think we ought to set up a policy that basically doesn't have them coming up to us and saying, well, we're going to change every 3 or 4 years, but we say, okay, every 3 years.
Budget.
Yeah, exactly. So that it now starts getting put in the budget. Look, hardware and software are going to be not the future anymore, it's the present. Something we got to deal with every time we have a budget, we have to deal with the fact that as a county, as a city, the growth factors here are pretty quickly. We're gonna get beyond the $250,000 residents, benchmark pretty quickly. I mean, San Luis alone will do that. Notwithstanding what the city of Yuma and Somerton and Welton does, but the city of San Luis is going to make us go over 250,000 in less than 10 years, easy. So I think we as a county need to adapt to that without having to be told, well, we need new software every 3 or 4 years. We need to realize that we're going to need software every 3 or 4 or 5 years. And that should be an automatic thing that it should be a budgetary matter that we approve every year with the budget. Because if you start bringing it out by departments, it's going to make it very complicated to make a decision, because we're going to be talking about, hey, when we made a decision, that's what we made a decision for. Yes, we made a decision like 4 or 5 years ago to go ahead with new software, because the idea was to expedite the process. And expedite the process, I was going to require new software, new hardware. That's just the now of things. I'm going to split right there. Maybe we're disagreeing more on the purpose than we're disagreeing on the way to get to it. Because I think the purpose we have, I think the purpose the chairman has, is to improve customer response, to improve customer relations. Most of the relations we have are with developers and with people who do that. But we do have relationships with simple residents that want the things the county should be in another level. And I for one, I'm one of them. The things the county should be at another level, faster, and more responsive. I remember setting up a policy, if you don't answer in 30 days, it's a yes. And I remember that was kind of a major policy change where we said, hey, now we're looking at better customer service, not necessarily how fast it takes, but better customer service. That's what I think that self-inspection thing comes from. You want to do it quicker. You want to make sure that the county is not seen as a slowpoke. You want to make sure that when people call in to find out about the permit, there's a yes or no answer instead of a long, lengthy talk about the regulations that apply, whether you're outside the city. I mean, there's so many things that can go into play. I think that customer service is still our biggest choice, the one we choose to do all the time. And to do better customer service, we're going to need software updates pretty quickly.
And
But the software, I'm sorry, but the software is how they communicate now. I mean, it's all done via computerized acceptance and denials, and everybody works through computers, not telephones.
Well, I think
That's why software has to be
I think COVID changed
updated.
it.
I think we're all on the same page on software. My thing is just that if it's gonna, it took us for RFQ another year to implement it, and then another year to use it. So we're already by that time
Out of date.
Out of date.
Mhm.
I think it's just a matter of getting it and implement it right. I mean, it shouldn't be that hard, honestly. I mean, there's not a lot of things that change. If it's the same codes or few codes that change, I mean, on the county, you got the septic and the well. Pretty much the construction is the same as the cities. Maybe little things, something else that they ask, the cities compared to us. But it shouldn't change that much. I think the software, the way that I understood it, it was to speed up the process and make the customer happier, because there was always complaints that Craig, I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, you've been there since I got in here, and it hasn't changed much. Maybe the process, it's, you're getting there, but the complaints, and I hear it from just regular people, residents, from us, also from the construction side. But it's just, we really need to do something. I mean, I've been hearing it for 8 years. I just don't, honestly, let's get there.
Sure. And that's what these are intended to do. I know that the software we got made an astronomical improvement over what we had before. It saved us needing to get additional personnel. It did improve our overall processing. What we're not anticipating is having the software purchased by another agency who did not, in our opinion, invest what they should into keeping it up. We've worked with it. It has been effective for the internal processes. The main issue is the portal that's facing the public. We've gotten it as far along as we can, but they are I've asked them about it. When they are implementing, they brought in their newer portal, and it had flaws in it that we couldn't use. We have consistently kept up with it. Next year. We're now to the point where we need to get with a different company. However, the cost of migration, and it's not there's one software with a bunch of different companies with the one software. They all have their own code. And so when you go with a new company, they have to implement your system with their code. And across the board, I'm getting it's about a year to do an implementation. That's why we want to get the request for qualifications out so that we can get these items and we can get them with their budget numbers so we can bring that back and you have an understanding about what it would cost to switch softwares.
All right.
Mhm.
Any other questions?
No, but I agree.
What do you want us to do? Make a motion to give you directions, or?
Yeah.
Yes.
Or did you get enough directions from what we discussed?
I've got the direction about what you're after, but what we need is
A motion to direct you to do it.
do you want it to come back to you with our draft?
I think so.
Yeah, I think that'll be better. Yeah.
I think you ought to take it one deal at a time. I mean, and for
Come
example,
back with the draft, and then that way we
can tackle it.
Yeah.
I'll give you directions directly.
All right.
But just move it as quick as you can, because this is what happens to us. We keep pushing it off and delaying it, and that's where we get behind the curve on this. So, because I know right now, there's like 5 or 6 new subdivisions in the foothills area alone that are fixing to get going, plus probably half a dozen or more businesses that are in the process. So the quicker we can get this implemented and make it work.
And I think there's a difference between the subdividers or the developers who know what they expect and the customer who expects to get a quick response, get a quick inspection, get all this stuff. And I think that the chairman here gets the complaints mostly from people who complain about the speed of the process, or people who complain, well, I call in to get an inspection and I don't get anybody an answer to me for 7 days, 10 days, which is, yeah, I'm not saying that that's the complaint, but I mean, from what I hear, I think that what we're saying is, look, all of us have the same thing in mind. How do we speed up the process for developers and for the regular customer, residents? And your job is to find a way to do this quicker. And I think that necessitates for you to come back with specific items for us to make a decision on, so you can move forward. And if all 3 of them are really speedy to you, just bring them up with a little more explanation and we'll do it.
I just want to make sure that there is desire behind these specific items before we put them together for you. All right.
Well, I desire you to have a way to do amendments to the zoning ordinance without having to, do this like every time in resolution form. Legislation to provide more flexibility is obviously tied to that, and we're going to be having a CSA meeting less than a month and a half maybe from now in October, where I think we ought to bring it up if we need to. So we need to do that process pretty quickly. In the request for clarification, I think that I think that you could probably bring it to us next time, and we'll probably go ahead and tell you, we don't want you to come back in 3 or 4 or 5 years to request a modification of the codes. I think that that's kind of an automatic thing. You go through the budget process and request that, and if the budget sees it as a need, they're going to bring it up as a budget, because that's going to be a budgetary issue. So much it's going to cost. How fast can you implement it, and how much it's going to cost?
Exactly. All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I might just, kind of echoing Supervisor Reyes' comments, the board has been loud and clear about its goal, primary goal is improving customer service in all county operations. So I appreciate Craig and Ty coming in to talk about their specific initiatives to improve their department goals. And the direction will be to come back to do those. But yeah, that's the heart and soul of what they're trying to do here, to make sure the complaints to you guys get minimized and we are improving that customer service. Thank you.
And I think one thing, I know it's engineering and DDS there. Sometimes I think that the lack of communication between both departments, it's not there. When someone goes in and asks for something and maybe the message was not related, so they're like, well, no one has gotten back to me because maybe that communication was not, not related to the person that should have been related to. So I mean, those little things, I think, people are willing to comply, but they just want to hear it, and the faster they hear it, the more satisfied they're going to be.
Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Craig.
I'm gonna go ahead and recess the Yuma County Board of Supervisors and convene a Yuma County Board of Equalization. I will open the Board of Equalization discussions and calendar. Sitting as the Yuma County Board of Equalization, the board will open each of the following items separately for discussion and action as appropriate. And item number
One.
Yeah.
Circle
Item
K.
number one.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a handout too for that item.
Is the assessor's office here, the
Yeah.
representative?
Yep.
So, and I'll go ahead. Board of Equalization action regarding petition for review and real property evaluation for Southeast Investments of Palm Beach, C&O Circle K, APN 197-0407, located at 2600 South Araby Road, Yuma, Arizona, 85365.
Hello, my name is Chris O'Don. Thank you for having us. We are here to discuss the Circle K over on Araby Road. The subject property is a 4,180 square foot franchise Circle K convenience market. The property is on the corner lot fronting South Araby Road with East 26th Street to the north. There is an interstate on-ramp to the south of the property connecting Araby Road to the Interstate 8. The subject is in an area with recent commercial development directly to the south and west of the property. There are a number of single-family residential subdivisions nearby, as well as schools ranging from preschool to the community college. The building was originally constructed in 2007, and it was later renovated, bringing the effective age to 13 years old. The total full cash value for the subject for the 2025 valuation year is $825,151. The limited property value is $750,540. The assessor it is the assessor's decision for no change to the full cash value based on the sales comparison approach. During this procedure of review, we've discovered that the building height to be an error. The structure is listed currently as a 15-foot height. Wall height is actually 18 feet. There is also a fire sprinkler system in place in this building that is not being accounted for the 2025 tax year. These variances are not taken into consideration in this report. These items will increase the value of the building. The basis for the petition was the petitioner filed based on costs. The petitioner stated that the property is not being appraised, in excess of fair market value. The petitioner has only submitted a cost calculator form. The petitioner also did not support or submit any support with any land sales analysis in this cost form. The cost form also has incorrect data regarding the type of building. The building submitted by the petitioner says that the building is brick. It is actually a stucco with a wood frame and stucco building. All three approaches to value were generated for this report. The cost approach is less accurate on older buildings. In turn, the cost approach is given less weight in the evaluation. The most weight in the evaluation is given in the sales comparison approach to value. 3 sales were found comparable in use and give an accurate indication of the current market. The income data was derived from regional data, and it's not given any weight in the final recommendation. Equity, although not an approach to value, was generated for this report and given due consideration to determine the fair and equitable treatment when compared to similar properties. The assessor's recommendation is not to change the value for the 2025 tax year.
Any questions?
Yeah, I got some pictures on your sales approach. You know, you had 3 sales. One was a building that was 39 years old, the other one was 24, and the other one was 38. All of them were below the amount that you gave this property, which is only, what, 15, maybe 20 years, maybe less than 20 years old. But none of them got to a medium of 1,290 that I saw. Most of them were like below 1 million, even if they were newer 24-year-old buildings. How did you get to that mean medium of 1,290?
So the price per square foot.
Oh, square foot.
The median price per square foot is taken and applied to the 4,180 square feet of the subject property, and that's where that $1 million amount comes from.
So that's like the one that you have at Foothills Boulevard that was like 24 years old, and you came up with 401, and then you reduced it to 3 something, and you used a lower value for that to come up with an estimated price value.
Right.
That's what you think it would sell for now if it was sold.
If it were open on the market, the sales comparison approach gives a good estimation as to what it would sell for on the open market.
So that's still an estimate that you made. You know, sort of where you gave it a value based on what you saw as a sales around 5 miles around the market there.
Pardon?
What it means to me is that it could sell for more, it could sell for less, depending on who buys it and what they sell it for.
Right.
And the sales approach that you took were for similar issues. They had similar issues concerned with them. I mean, they were like convenience stores, gas stations.
Right, they're all convenience stores. They're all gas station convenience store locations.
Okay.
So what's the difference in the amount? I can't.
So the petitioner is requesting a $605,000 value, $605,257, and that's based on her cost approach. And as I stated, her cost approach has significant flaws in it. There's no land analysis provided, and she does have errors in the cost approach as well. We're saying that the building, we noticed at the building at $825,151. And if you look at the equity bracket, the similar properties are within that equity bracket of $803,000 to $870,000. And we don't feel that if we were to change this to the petitioner's full cash value, it would not be equitable.
All right.
Let me just give you my opinion. I think that the changes that you mentioned, that place it between 856,900 to 1.29.658, and you rounded it up to the highest number because you felt that you were supported by, the facts in the case.
Are you referring to the change in the error? That was just a mathematical error.
I know that was a mathematical error. I'm just trying to get to.
Okay, I apologize.
I know that you mentioned that. I still believe that their value they give their property is too low, because obviously that's their job. I mean,
Right.
to keep it low. But I believe that the price you gave it is actually a little higher than I would have.
The 825,000.
Oh no.
We're not trying to say that the property is going to be assessed at $1 million. We're just saying that the $825,000 that it's currently assessed at should not be changed.
I understand that. I understand the different height, the different square footage, the different use. I should ask this from legal. What options do we have? This has been going on for years where the assessor brings out their assessment. Normally they work it out. Normally something happens and you finally get to an agreement and it doesn't come to us for us to make a decision. Now, I want to know what decisions can we make? Can we simply say yes to the assessor's assessment? Or do we have the ability to say, well, I think that a more market value would be $1 million, not $1,290,000 or 800,000 or 600,000, but $1 million. Can we actually make that decision as a board of equalization and actually set an amount?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Reyes, per the statute, you have direct authority to either accept or reject in whole or in part the request made by the petitioner.
Thank you. That's an answer. That's a good answer. Because I was going to suggest that we settle this at $1 million. I mean, it isn't what the applicant wants, but it isn't actually what I think. I think the property is probably valued at less than $1 million if you sold it today. And I know that coming up with these facts is something that equity is involved and all. You guys don't have the flexibility to do much of that stuff. I mean, I'm talking about the assessor. The assessor has to come up with something that they can defend. I, on the other hand, being a supervisor and you being in the foothills, will understand that selling an old building for $1 million is a great achievement, even if it's used for a convenience store. So my suggestion, and we still have to listen to the applicant, does the applicant have any representative here? I didn't see anyone, and I know that we don't have the capacity to have him like on a Zoom call. So I figured that he's not around, or she's not around, whomever that represents the company. I would suggest that we go ahead and settle for $1 million as an evaluation and set the tax rate to be that, based upon that amount, instead of the 2.9. Is there anybody else that wants to second that? I'll make the motion. We'll get over this quickly. No?
Are you,
You want to set the sessions?
I'm
suggesting
No, yeah, I understand what you're.
We're just asking-
Using the comparisons that you used, is that pretty similar or is that too low or?
They're relatively similar in use and function. They are a distance away. The sales are older, but I did a time analysis, and the analysis says that there's no need to adjust for the time of sales. The buildings themselves are a little bit smaller in the comparables, but it doesn't affect the overall value of the square foot value.
So you're saying
I'm
almost
saying that
300,000?
we should set it at $1 million as a market value, and then
we,
instead of 1.29. I think 600,000 is too low, even if you sold it next week.
Right.
But I think $1 million, 2.9 is a little high. I think $1 million would be more in the range that it would happen if a sale approach was used. And that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at a sales approach from the county that sets their price at 2.9. I'd like to set it at 1 million if it's possible, if the rest of the board would agree. That would lower the tax base, but it wouldn't do it too much. It'd be more, yeah,
290,000.
by 290,000, which I don't know how much that impacts that valuation, but I think it goes from
30%.
Mhm.
30%.
Yes.
My name is Tony Holzer. I'm the
Thank you,
Deputy
Tony.
Assessor. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to clarify a couple of things that I think might be misunderstood here. This was a response to a notice of value that we sent out in February. Our notice of value was at what Crystal has here at 825,000.
Mhm.
Petitioner didn't like that, thought it should be lower to 625. What's going to happen here, we're comfortable with the 825,000. If we end up raising this, it's going to end up in tax court. And that's, they have the statute allows them to file at tax court as up to December the 15th. I'm not opposed. I mean, obviously, the higher we want to keep these values as close to market as possible. I'm not sure there's enough market data here for us to justify $1 million if this ends up in tax court.
And also, I feel like $1 million is outside of the equity bracket that we have established based on the data inside of our analysis.
So if we just leave it, it's 825,000.
That's what we're requesting.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay, I agree too.
Yeah.
I can leave it there.
I thought there was a mistake in there. You raised it to 1.29. So I said, that's a
Okay,
lot of big-
yeah,
No,
it's 825, yes.
Well, the appraisal exhibits what what we can support and what we can comfortably guarantee to the taxpayer as being a fair full cash value. Obviously, their tax bills are based off the LPV. The LPV is considerably lower. It's not going to change until the next valuation year when it will go up to 5% the statute allows. So increasing the value to $1 million at this point doesn't really do anything, and I don't feel we've got the market support to.
Neither do I.
Okay,
Thank you.
go ahead, Tony.
Okay, so what you ask us to do is to actually support the lower value?
We're asking to not change the notice of value.
Yeah, not change the, the value.
I
All right.
can support that.
So their recommended motion.
I'll make a motion that we
Leave the tax value.
leave the value set as is by the assessor.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
There's a motion and a second to uphold the assessor's decision. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you for your work.
It's confusing sometimes.
I think Tony made it more confusing.
Yeah, I know. We're gonna try to split the baby.
Not you, Tony.
This Tony.
Yeah.
This Tony.
Thanks, guys.
You guys made it confusing there.
Thank you.
I'll go ahead and adjourn as the Yuma County Board of Equalization and reconvene as the Yuma County Board of Supervisors. Moving on to planning and zoning agenda. Full legal descriptions of property sites for all rezoning cases are available for public review in Yuma County Board of Supervisors office. And expedited rezoning and public hearing. These items will be open as a group for public hearing and acted upon by one motion to adopt the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission, except for any item that is removed by a board member for separate consideration. The items will be discussed and acted upon separately following action on expedited items.
Yeah, I think we ought to do it item.
Okay, I'll go ahead and open all three expedited items as a group, but I do want to make note that rezoning case number 2407 is first, and then special use permit case number 2404 is second. It was It was
It's
the,
crossed off.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you open at
no, it
3.
does matter because we gotta approve first one.
Oh, one at a time?
No,
But this is
all
a group,
three,
right?
but it's.
Oh, the presentation is going to be
Yeah.
first number 3
Uh-huh.
and then number 2 and number 1.
Chairman, thank you. Javier Barraza, Senior Planner. It's just the order. The rezoning has to be approved first, and there's a special use permit for the same parcel. So the rezoning has to go 2407, and then a special use permit
So
2404.
when you make a motion, you gotta approve that one first. Not
But
a,
that 24/7 is number 2.
change the order.
but that, I meant that's number one.
It should be before number
Yeah.
2407.
Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. Thank you.
You got me confused now.
I don't have any questions with it.
Any questions?
Open the public hearing.
Okay, I'll go ahead and open open it to the public, open the public hearing. Anybody from the public? Hearing none, I'll bring it back, close the public hearing and bring it back to the board.
I'll make a motion that we approve special, where's it here? Rezoning case 24-07, special use permit case number 24-07, and special use permit case 24-04 as presented.
Second that motion.
There's a motion and a second to approve the expedited items as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to legislative issues.
Thanks, guys.
Alejandro,
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Alejandro Figueroa, Economic Development and Intergovernmental Affairs for Yuma County.
That title is so, go ahead.
We're starting with the state. Governor Kitty Hobbs agreed not to renominate 3 agency heads. Department of Child Safety, Department of Environmental Quality, which is really close to home. It's going to change dynamics here for us. So I've reached out to our lobbyist and asked that we establish communications with the governor's office to find out who's going to be the next nominee for the ADQ director position as soon as we can and start that conversation. This agreement resolves a lawsuit filed by Senate Republicans who argue that Hobbs illegally appointed, and I quote, executive deputy directors to, end quote, to bypass the Senate confirmation process. Confirmation process will restart when the legislature returns in January. Ben Henderson will serve as the interim director of the Department of Child Safety and Department of Environmental Quality, while John Scott will be the interim director for the Department of Veteran Services. Henderson is the Chief Operations Officer for the governor's office at the moment. The outcome of the January confirmation process could be influenced by the results of the upcoming Senate elections, with Democrats aiming for a potential 15-15 split in the Senate.
Can I ask a question? I've heard the name Karen Stevens before. I thought that she was a...
Karen Peters.
Karen Peters? I thought she was a ADOT.
A what?
Some federal level ADOT transportation.
No, she was in the water. I thought she was in water.
Yeah, she is in water now, but...
Yeah. No, she's in the
Chairman,
Department of Environmental Quality.
Reyes, Supervisor Bancarsi. I don't have her background at the moment.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know where she's coming from before that.
I've heard Karen Peters several times. And I know David Lujan personally, so, yeah. And I probably know Karen Peters too. I just can't put a face to it right now.
Oh, you got?
With that slide, I am. Would you like me to pause for a moment?
continue.
And then I would like to share a brief review of the Joint Legislative Budget Review Committee monthly fiscal highlight. July 2024 general fund revenues were $1.28 billion, exceeding budget forecast by $83 million, marking a 15.1% increase from July 2023. Corporate income tax was the primary driver of the revenue surplus, with July corporate income tax revenues growing by 74% compared to July 2023, which is $53 million above the forecast. Individual income tax and insurance premium tax also surpassed forecasts, with individual income tax revenues 9.7% higher than July 2023, and insurance premium tax collections up by 22%, resulting in a $12 million surplus. Arizona saw a significant rise in single-family building permits, up to 44.9%, but a decline in the multifamily permits, which were down 8.8% year over year. The state's unemployment rate slightly increased by 0.01% from June to July, though it remains near historic lows. As you probably know, the Arizona League of Cities and Towns held their annual conference last week, and they adopted its package for the 2025 legislative session. Some of the resolutions I've posted on the screen for your review, which include proactively seeking solutions to offset loss of funds resulting from the rental tax repeal and preserve current revenue streams. Work with state partners to authorize municipalities to use tax increment financing. Clarify a statute to authorize the Secretary of State and municipal clerks to enforce strict compliance of all constitutional and statutory requirements for referendums. Lift the prohibition on candidates for local office from transferring campaign funds to allow for equal treatment among candidates and encourage candidates with local experience to run for higher office. Restore local control to allow the establishment of local policies to incentivize the development of attainable and below market housing. Clarify a statute to apply immunity only to claims arising from a public employee's operation of motor vehicle, and affirm that the statute is an immunity statute. Lastly, allow public bodies to withhold records that could identify a victim of or witness to a crime if there's a reasonable belief that they will be subject to harassment.
Those are good ones.
And Mayor Nichols passed on the baton to, I believe, the Mayor Chandler as the president of the league for the upcoming year.
These are resolution proposals, huh?
Right. So if there's any resolution that you'd like me to support or talk to the cities here in town about, I'll be more than happy to do so. I would like to bring Yavapai County policy proposal to your attention and get your feedback on it. Supervisor Simmons has asked me to present this to you, and I'll go over it briefly so you can have an idea what they're proposing. So investment companies purchasing manufacturing housing parks are leading to substantial rent increases, disproportionately affecting tenants on fixed incomes like Social Security. Arizona's current law prohibits local governments from imposing rent controls on mobile home spaces, leaving tenants with limited recourse against rent hikes. What they're proposing as a solution is to amend or repeal the law to allow local governments to regulate rent increases with a proposed cap tied to annual inflation plus 1%, modeled after regulations in other states. Likely opposition from park owners. There will be some opposition from park owners due to potential revenue loss, and expected support from tenants and renters advocacy groups. There's minimal impact on the state and county budgets foreseen, with potential cost of living reductions for mobile home tenants. And if Supervisor Simmons would like to add a couple of words.
Where this kind of came from, I was approached by a group in the foothills that are seeing excessive amounts of rate hikes on their rent for spaces. And a lot of these places they've been in for years, and the homes are pretty much set, the trailers are. So it's not like something they can pick up and move on a whim. And you're talking people on limited income, Social Security. And I was talking with one of the supervisors up in Yavapai County, and they're seeing the same thing. And I think it's kind of spread throughout the state where they're just running. You have these corporations buying these RV parks and then raising the rent well beyond the reality of what people can afford. So I'm not saying people shouldn't be allowed, or companies shouldn't be allowed to make a profit, but they shouldn't be allowed to make a gross profit, I guess is the word I'm looking for, with reasonable hikes as far as cost of living, and still make some money as a profit. So I just feel this is a good something really good we need to get behind.
I agree. Can I comment? I agree. It's been happening not just out in the foothills, in town. And even down in the B and C colonias, there's people who are buying up mobile home parks and jacking up the rent. And out on the 4th Avenue extension, where those mobile home parks are, they're not. Most of them are out of state investors, or and they don't understand that the income here in Yuma is not what the income is in California or some of these other states that they think that they can jack them up. This has been going on for quite a while.
Yeah.
And I think this is a very doable solution.
Mr. Chairman, the idea is to have the board consider co-sponsoring this proposal from Yavapai County during the CSA summit, as we did before with one of Coconino County's proposals last year or the year before. I will leave that up to the board to decide if we want to co-sponsor.
I move that we co-sponsor Yavapai County's policy proposal regarding rent increases in mobile home parks, manufactured mobile
I'll
home.
second that.
There's a motion and a second to support the
Sponsor.
to
Just co-sponsor.
Yavapai County policy proposal
Mhm.
on the mobile, just that one?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just on the
rate hike
of
control.
or
Yeah.
Yeah, great those, yeah, for mobile home parks.
All right, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Moving on to the federal side of the presentation, Arizona Senators Kirsten Sinema and Mark Kelly announced more than $47 million in additional funds from the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Shelter and Services Program to support Arizona communities managing continued releases from DHS custody. This follows an early announcement of nearly $55 million in Shelter and Services Program funds for Arizona communities, after securing $650 million for this same program in the fiscal year 2024 DHS appropriations bill. The new awards come from the remaining $380 million in SSP funding from the fiscal year 2024 appropriations. Arizona communities will receive the following amounts. State of Arizona will receive more than $19 million, Pima County $18.7 million, and the Regional Center for Borderhealth here in Yuma County will receive $7.5 million, while the Borderlands Resource Initiative in Pima County will receive $1.8 million.
Very good. Is it passed? It's done?
It's a bill that they've,
It hasn't been passed?
no, it has not.
Okay, thank you.
They've introduced it as a bipartisan bill.
Okay.
Yes. On the international front, U.S. expands area in Mexico to apply for border asylum appointments, hoping to slow push for the north. Migrants in Mexico, southernmost states bordering Guatemala, can now apply for appointments via the CBP One app. Previously, migrants had to be in central or northern Mexico to apply. The Mexican government has attempted to contain migrants in the south, away from the U.S. border. Mexico hopes that allowing migrants to wait for appointments in the south will reduce the risk of being targeted by organized crime while traveling north. How this may impact Yuma County: a potential reduction in migrant influx, decreased pressure on local resources, and improved border management. There's also a possible shift in migration patterns, since the San Luis One port of entry does not use the CBP One app.
Mhm.
That would conclude my presentation to the board today, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions for Alejandro?
Who does use the CB? Can you go back? Sure.
Anyone, any
CBP.
CBP One app, anyone ask or trying to get an appointment at a port of entry to ask or request asylum,
Okay.
that's what they've been using in other ports across the U.S.-Mexico border. The San Luis one, the San Luis Port of Entry does not have the facilities or the infrastructure to be able to allow people in and process people in, so they're not using it at the moment. But other ports of entry like San Isidro, I'm sorry, aren't doing that at the moment.
And now they can do those via an app on their
Right.
computers, and they don't have to come all the way up.
Right. Before they have to come here
Oh.
to a northern state in Mexico, right across the border, to ask for that appointment and wait weeks,
Yes.
sometimes months.
Yes.
To get that appointment. Now they can do it
From
from
home.
down south. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. Much better.
Thank you
Thank
for
you,
working on
Alejandro.
that, Alejandro.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Summary of current events.
Oh, I forgot to check.
Oh,
Oh.
thank you, Lynn. That was short.
Move on to the left here.
I hadn't looked at it. Doggone it. I
Mine's
was
quick.
so busy. I was too
Mine's real
busy.
quick. Attended a paradigm training,
Yeah, go ahead.
gas
You
line
s-
training, elected advisory board meeting, and Welton Mohawk Irrigation District Board meeting, and numerous calls and meetings reference to upcoming zoning projects that are coming before the board.
Mm.
Went to Pittsburgh. Came back and don't want to tell the story of COVID.
You're still a fan?
That's it. Oh, I'm not still a fan. But I did cover the state.
Okay. I attended a band trailer, the next steps. I have attended a band park meeting, next steps. I attended the joint MCAS, huh?
Joint land use plan?
Yes, there we go. At City Hall, 2 days in a row. I went to the Arizona Business, Ag Business Conference, which was on water in Phoenix. Let's see, keep going. Here we go. Hold on. I'm still looking. I usually write it down. Sorry, guys. I attended part of the, I didn't get to all of them, but I got to some of the Arizona at Work provider meetings. And the rest is the holiday. Mhm.
Thank you.
Sorry, those are the things I attended.
The rest is history.
I attended the YMPO meeting 2 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah, I did too. I was at YMPO too, yes. Via Zoom.
And that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The YSIPTA Board of Directors meeting, also was at the Band Mobile Home Park Next Steps meeting. Met with APS Southwest Division Manager Danny Ortega. Went to the Chamber Board of Directors meeting to meet the new Executive Director, Carrie Zaragoza. Met with representative from Resound Networks, the firm who has the RDOF Award in Yuma County for broadband. We had the Elections Advisory Committee meeting, JLUP Steering Committee meeting, and just want to thank Josh for keeping an eye on things while I was away for a week. And that's it. Thank you.
All right. We'll go ahead and we'll go into an executive session.
You don't have to go
You need a
upstairs.
motion?
Motion and vote for to go into it, but then the chair will adjourn without.
Okay. Is there a motion to?
I move that we
Motion.
go into executive session.
There's
I'll
a motion
second.
and a second to go into executive session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Do it in here.
Important to notify the people in the executive session that the meeting shall be kept confidential. Disclosure of the content of the meeting is subject